Emiliana Guereca. I'm president of Women's March Foundation and executive director of Women's March Action. I am an activist and an entrepreneur, a mom. What I'm currently working on is really in the Georgia Senate runoffs and then being a mom as well at the same time. And I think most people can relate to that. I think 2020, for me, as well as for the rest of the country and the women in the country, has been a little difficult. I mean, I think that we've had to roll up our sleeves and do even more. More is asked of women in 2020. I think with the COVID pandemic, we had to make some tough choices, Can we stay as women in the workplace? How do we manage and balance that? So I think 2020 for me as an activist, as a mother, as an entrepreneur, there were tough choices, but also choosing to also stay engaged. Early on, I think the most difficult period for me was around July, when it's okay, I don't think we're going back to school. And here we are. Here we are in December, and we're not going back to school, but we've learned to pivot. And as women, that is really what we do best. We needed to pivot and provide support for women online and build a community online. And we didn't know if they were going to follow us, and they did. I think it's an organic growth to protesting and marching. We can take to the streets and we can protest our hearts out. But unless we really turn it into policy, unless we actually have a voice in policy, and in the political environment, we're not going to see change. I remember specifically seeing a woman with a sign that it was I'm 80, I can't believe I'm still protesting women's rights. And it has to do with now pivoting and going into policy in order to really affect change. So it was a natural progression for us. Time off for childcare. I think that when we look at the roles that women play in their families and their households, I think people do not even consider that women are taking care of their parents, of their grandparents, their kids. We're tasked with other roles outside of the workforce, and that will affect our pay and workforce. In 2021, California, New York, Rhode Island have passed something that will allow for time off to take care of kids and parents, that will also pay 67% of your salary if you needed the time off, which has never been seen. So I would like to see that across the country. I've had 2 women quit working because they cannot handle child rearing and working a full-time job. And I've never had a man say, I need to quit because I need to handle my kids and my house responsibilities fall on me. There has to be something there that gives us equity in the workplace. And the structure that we currently have is that it is assumed that women will do the housework. And so if it is assumed, then we must put something in place that gives us equity. I would say yes to all of them. I think that we do not have enough young women dreaming of being in politics and dreaming bigger, right? That the possibilities are there. And so I think it is our job as leaders to make sure that, that is available. I think I would say to young girls to follow your dream. No one comes out of nowhere. There is something that you have specifically that is needed. And I think for Latina women, for Asian women, that is something that it's almost within our background to fight, right? But we have to, I always liked being in the background. I would say that it was difficult for me to be in the front and to be in a leadership position because I liked being in the background. I liked working. And then I realized that there was no one out there like me advocating for kids that looked like me. There are places that you can start And there are women advocating for women that look like us to be in those rooms. In order to see ourselves in leadership, we must start bringing up the leadership and mentoring them ourselves. And having the courage to say, you know what, I want to try this. Have the courage to go out and do it. The worst thing someone can do is say no. Moving on. No is an entry for it's good. There should be a different opportunity for you. There's always going to be different opportunities, and I think trying it is not failing. Trying is not failing. Failing is not trying. I haven't. I'm going to be honest. There's sometimes where I balance and there's sometimes when I don't. There are days where I'm really focused on work and I may eat McDonald's along the road, you know. I think that we've been sold that we should be doing it all and being all. No, it's a lot to ask of a woman to be this and that or that. But the main thing is the balancing is that we in the United States glorify working really long hours and just working hard and not finding the balance, right? And I will tell you that in my early 20s, I was definitely not balanced. I was just working mindset. I mean, my husband asked me out for like 5 years because I was like, I'm building a business. Do not call me. This is what I'm doing, you know. And I started thinking, what am I doing? This is unbalanced. And it's the same thing with activism. We can get really out there in the streets and really focus on the balance, but to what end? We ask people to just put their head down and completely work hard, but unless you are balanced, unless you really have your vision, your mission, it should really include that downtime to reflect on what you have worked on. So I think that we glorify the 6-7 day work weeks and the drinking coffee all day, but that's unbalanced. And I think we always ask women to do more. I would differ. I would say do less. Say no to more things so that you can focus. What way doesn't it? I think our identity comes with us. I mean, when I walk into a room, I'm Mexicana, Latina. In Miami, they think I'm Cubana, right? So I think when I walk into a room, I bring that identity with me. My goal is to really, really represent my culture, my family in a way that is true to who we are, which are these, you know, hardworking people that come out to the United States to have a better future for their kids. We grew up in a multicultural household, and as a Latina, we really needed to stand tall because one, we knew we were in poverty. My mom has a 3rd grade education. My mom was one of the first fighters, spoke very little English, but fought for housing rights in our community because they started gentrification and what was happening to our neighborhood was insane. So mom, with her kids, went to the city council meeting and had us translate on how they were discriminating. What she did with what little she had is incredible. I mean, all of her kids have now attended university. She worked hard, as well as my dad. So being a Latina and a first generation of a lot of things, really, I think has helped propel me because I think that my parents have already done the hard work. Yes, so we are planning an International Women's Day on March 6th. We do plan to march and really celebrate our VP Kamala Harris because women did that. We're ready for an International Women's Day on March 6th. Just to be safe so that we're not marching in January. So March 6, 2021, an International Women's Celebration on the streets of LA and across the country.